Welcome back to the Mike Huckabee Show. There has been an enormous amount of controversy regarding how the military has set its sights not necessarily on foreign enemies, but on faith among its ranks. Some disturbing cases where chaplains have been basically told stand down from getting too religious, making one wonder, what are they supposed to be? Well, it has gotten the attention of Congressman Doug Collins of Georgia, and he also served as a chaplain of the United States Air Force Reserve, so he understands what chaplains are to do and not to do. And he joins me now. Congressman, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Governor, it's a pleasure to be with you as well. Serving as a chaplain, this has been an amazing few weeks we've been having to look at this.
You know, Congressman, we get almost every day a report of either a military member being told to take his Bible off his desk, take a poster down off his wall, take some bumper strip off his personal vehicle, all because it has some connotation to faith. Is this the military that you knew and that you served in?
Well, and Governor, it's the military I continue to serve in because I still am a chaplain in the reserves, and so I deal with this, and from a perspective just really right now. What I'm concerned about is, especially in these areas, and I serve in the Air Force, is that we've become what you could deem loosely as a too politically correct nation, and the Defense Department seems to be buying into it. And instead of focusing on the values and the core beliefs that we have, which are strengthening our military, they seem to be at times at odds with that, and that's very disturbing, very concerning.
Historically, a lot of people who join the military are people of strong patriotism, strong faith, not by any stretch that everyone is, for sure, but it has attracted people who love their country, love God, and consider their military service as duty to God and country. Are we getting to the point where the serving God part is going to be drummed out of the military?
Well, from my faith perspective, I'll firmly say no, because I believe men and women of faith who go into the military are going to hold that faith because, as you have talked about and I have as well, we view the world through faith lenses, and I think they're going to continue that. What my concern is that they're going to be discouraged from doing that, and that we're looking at from the part of the chaplain standpoint is, relegating us to a worship service and trying to keep us out of the day-to-day lives of individuals in which we have boundaries in which we abide by and confidentiality to help them do their job. I tell people all the time, my job as a military chaplain is to make sure that those airmen are the best equipped and best prepared mentally to do the job that they're supposed to do. Chaplains play a vital role in this. And the attack this week, in the past few weeks, on chaplains and atheists, trying to make an atheist chaplain, those are just things that we're just getting too far away from.
Well, you mentioned the atheist chaplain. There was an amendment attempted, at least, on an annual defense spending bill by a couple of Democrat legislators, Jared Polis of Colorado and Robert Andrews of New Jersey, that would have allowed humanists and other non-believers to join the chaplain corps. That's almost like having a vegetarian, and responsible for the inspection of beef in Iowa. I just don't get that. So it failed, but still, their argument was that if you're an unbeliever, you shouldn't have to seek help from a psychologist or a chaplain. I'm not sure what their point was. I don't get that.
Well, we didn't either. But the disturbing part is how many people actually voted with them. I don't think it's anywhere close to passing, but I think it's it's such a political messaging phase up there that, we've lost track of common sense. And I was speaking with someone the other day I was sitting in the chair and she asked, it was getting ready for an interview, and they said, what are you going to be interviewing on? And I told them atheist chaplains, and the lady just stopped and looked at me and she said, you're kidding, right? And I said, no, I'm not kidding. This is what we're down to. And they cite all kinds of crazy, not crazy statistics, but they cite statistics where people put on their dog tag, really where this no religious preference comes from, and they try to cite 23% have no religious preference. I have many friends who profess either Baptist, Catholic, Jewish, who just choose not to put a preference on their card. That doesn't mean that they don't have a faith that they actively participate in. And chaplains, when they're doing their job right, protect the faith of both those who have faith and those who profess no faith. That is our job.
Well, to kind of borrow and paraphrase an old, I think it was Will Rogers' routine, you and I are both Baptists, therefore we really don't belong to an organized religion. We're Baptist, and there's nothing organized half the time about it. So, you know, I mean, I understand that the idea of saying no preference doesn't mean that you hate God or don't believe in him. It just means that you're willing to kind of go in any door that'll preach the word, and it doesn't matter that much about the sectarian point of view. Well, we've had on my radio show, Congressman, John Wells, who is representing a couple of members of the military, among them Master Sergeant Nathan Summers, who has been subjected to military discipline because he served Chick-fil-A sandwiches at a reception, basically honoring marriage. And he got in real trouble. He's been censured. He's potentially could be thrown out of the military. And it's cases like that that make me wonder, where does this come from? Is this the commander-in-chief? Is this coming from military officers who are so interested in their political future within the military that they've lost all boundaries of common sense? I just want to know, how did this happen?
Well, I think it was a slow erosion of, not in the sense of being picked at from outside groups. I'm sure you've discussed, and I've heard you discuss Mickey Weinstein and his attack, his constant attacks on the chaplaincy and the constant attacks on the military and being able to be involved in DOD decision making when it comes to faith issues. Also, I believe it is, in all fairness, in the military, I believe it's a culture in which they tell commanders, here's things you need to stay away from, because if you don't stay away from these things, these can potentially trip you up, and we become so hypersensitive to it. We get cases like you just talked about. And the problem is we do have boundaries. There are boundaries on what you do in your faith world by being a part of the military. I would much rather focus on those times when maybe those boundaries are actually, infringed upon, than going after, really a political speech issue or really someone who is not infringing on this, and then try and characterize the whole faith process in it. So that's where, but I think it's a culture that's built up now, a political culture that says, stay away from controversy. We don't even want to get close to it, even if that means you need to be on what I personally believe is the wrong side of these religious issues.
Are these, I guess, principles being applied uniformly? Are Muslims and Hindus and others being subjected to the same kind of squelching of spirit that we see on Christians? Because it seems like if one of our military members does anything overseas that might show disrespect to the Quran or to Islam, everybody, gets their shorts in a wad, and next thing you know, we have an international incident going on. It seems like it's perfectly okay to trample over what Christians believe.
Well, I think you've hit that head on. I think those are issues that we do see, and there tends to be, and then again, a chaplain, and I've had to do this as well. We provide for all faiths, and making sure they have what they need to practice their faith. What is concerning to me is, just like you said, it's always Christians. You be on your best behavior. You don't offend anybody else. But yet, at the very heart of other religions in which they speak, and in essence, talk about their faith and what they would like for you to be a part of them, we tend to leave that alone, and we sort of undercurrent say, well, if you go there, that they're minority, and you're picking on them of religious faith. I think let's put everybody on the same playing field. That's exactly what the chaplaincy does. It says, I, from my background, will always be, Southern Baptist in my faith perspective and how I preach and how I pray and how I minister. But as a military chaplain, I'm also there to listen to those who may not have the same kind of faith I am. Let the chaplains alone. Let us do our jobs, because that is what I believe is constitutionally mandated, and that's why we're there. So if we continue this path of chasing and making sure we don't offend, then we've got a problem that will end up hurting everybody.
Congressman, I appreciate your efforts on this. It is an issue that needs to be addressed, and you're doing it, and I think all of our listeners are deeply grateful. Thanks for joining us today.
Governor, I appreciate it. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Congressman Doug Collins of Georgia, representing the 9th District there, and taking this issue head on. And as one believer, I would just say, thank God. When we come back, we'll be talking to Lisa Johnson Mandel. We'll get the latest on the films being released this weekend, find out what's worth seeing, and, well, what you might just want to avoid. That's coming up next.